you can pull them closer, that was much appreciated because it's very difficult to hear at home.
Okay, I'm going to start. This should be okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the first meeting of the ZBA of the 2025. Hope the year's been good to you so far. We've got two cases here tonight. One for a variance and another returning case for the variance extension. We all set?
It's on upstairs.
Okay. So I'd like to start by having everybody introduce themselves.
Sean Gaffney.
Travis Corcoran.
Matt Yuri. Kurt Markarian.
Malcolm Wright.
And I'm Janice Matthews, alternate.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, excellent. I guess we're good to go. How's case number 01-2025 look to you guys? You looked it over?
I've looked it over.
Complete?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept it?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the case 01-2025 as complete. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes, 05, here we go. Who's to speak for this one? Mr. Carbonell?
Yes.
Okay. Could you say your name in the microphone and, do the basics?
Oh, thank you. John
Introduce
Carbonell.
yourself.
I am the builder, hopefully, of this project.
Okay. And I see in the application we have a letter giving you permission to speak,
Yes.
so we're good to go. If you'd like to just go over the application, go point for point, read it out.
Okay. So the application is for a variance to build a garage on the property. The garage is going to be a two-stall garage. We are going to need a variance for relief from the side boundaries set by the town. They are going to be encroaching 10 feet past the 25-foot limit, so we'd be roughly 15 feet from the property line. Am I supposed to just read through
Yeah, if you'd like to
every
start, just
section of it, or?
basically start with point one, you read the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, and then go ahead. It's just a matter for the record.
Okay, so the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the relief being requested will not hinder the boundary between the homeowner's property and the property of the adjacent neighbor. Point two, please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed. The proposed building does not encroach on the property of the neighbor. The request is that the ordinance be amended from 25 to roughly 15 feet from the property line. Point three is please describe how substantial justice is done. The building of the garage should not only increase the value of the homeowner's property, but the perceived value of the other homes in their neighborhood. Point four is please describe how the values surrounding the properties are not diminished. The homeowner is seeking to improve on their property in a reasonable and prudent manner, and the improvements to the home should be considered as an addition to the value of the home and the homes in their neighborhood.
Okay, just a second. I want to give everybody a chance. Are there any questions so far? Okay, I want to
The only thing I would say is not really a question, but a comment. When you look at point two, the request is that the ordinance be amended from 25 feet to roughly 15 feet from the property line. I know that's not really what you meant, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, because we can't adjust the zoning ordinances. I know you're looking to have a variance
On the ordinance,
for the
yes.
setback.
Right.
So, just so that's clear.
clarification.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fair. So point five is literal enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The layout of the homeowner's property boundary causes the lot to shrink in width towards the back of the lot. If their home had been built about 10 or 20 feet closer to the road, they would have the appropriate amount of width on their lot to build without needing the variance. Unfortunately, they had no control over where their home was built. It was there when they bought it. and that is why we are here. Point 1 of 5 is owing to the special conditions identified above, please indicate how no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. The house of the homeowners on the adjacent lot is located at the front of their property near the road, and the building of this garage will not encroach on the home. Essentially, their house is far enough away that it's the woods behind their property that the garage is gonna kind of abut against.
Okay.
Point 2 of 5 is owing to the special conditions identified above, please indicate how the proposed use is a reasonable one. The homeowners request to build the design garage. The homeowners request to build the design garage is a reasonable use of their property. The issue of the placement of the house on the lot cannot be amended, nor can the design of the garage be altered in a way that will allow for reasonable freedom of design while still conforming with the ordinance. The request for the variance of the side setback will allow the homeowner the use of their property that they would normally be considered acceptable. Point B would be, please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. I did not have a good answer for that question.
Yeah, this is an either or anyway.
Okay.
By answering the first two,
That's what I had assumed.
you're all set with that.
Okay.
So nothing else you wanna add to that as far as anything you wanna sell this on, or questions? Anybody else have a question?
Well, this might be, I'm missing something or something like that, but, so I see who the homeowners are. I kinda see who you are. I see this letter that says something that they signed, but it doesn't say about anything, doesn't have any specifics. It just says a voluntary act indeed. I
I'm
see
not
this-
sure which letter you're referring to.
So it's the one that was signed the third day of March 2022 by Ben and Amberly in the state of South Carolina in 2022, right?
Is this the warranty deed?
It looks like a notary, notice to the public, right?
Yeah, so that was, I believe, the warranty deed. That was just for proof of ownership of the property.
So,
Yeah, it's part of the warranty.
is it part of this? Okay,
Yeah.
it's part of that,
Yeah.
okay. Alright, and then this is the one, this next page is the one saying that you have authorization to do this. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I was missing, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Excellent.
I think the one thing I would add to that is, I mean, like I said earlier, that had the house been built 10 or 20 feet closer to the road,
Yeah.
they would have the space for the garage. So, I mean, that is
And
really
there's
the
no
biggest
real
hindrance.
reasonable other location for it.
No, they have, the septic system is on the opposite side of the house, the well's right behind. I mean, you can't really push it further back.
That's not depicted on the graphic that you gave us where the
Yeah.
septic and
Understood.
well are. Can you explain those in detail?
Yeah, so if you are looking at the lot layout, looking up from the road, about 10 feet behind the center of where the proposed garage is where their well is located. And then from the road to the right of the house would be the septic system in the leach field.
All right.
So the septic is under the gazebo, more or less, and heads towards the road?
Yeah, Shelley did they had their septic system pumped recently, so if you guys would like to take a look at this.
I would actually, yeah.
That just states where the septic
Cool.
system is located.
Thank you. This is one page, is that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Most of the questions about code issues on the lot, I'm not overly concerned with, but I'd be more concerned if the well radius for the lot next to you is gonna be encroached upon or anything like that, but that's all set.
I do not know the exact location of the well, but I would assume that it's nearer to the house,
Right.
as they typically are, and I don't think we're within the
So
75
you're
foot.
assuming you're not encroaching on any well radius?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about the answer to 5A. The question is, please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. And then the answer, so implicitly the answer is what distinguishes it from the other houses in the area is the layout of the homeowner's property boundaries cause the lot to shrink in width towards the back of the lot. When I go and look at the map of the neighborhood, it seems to me that lot 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41, and 43 all shrink in width towards the back of the lot, so it
That is
seems like,
correct.
okay.
That is
So,
typical for that neighborhood, but I
Okay.
wouldn't say typical for.
so there
most
is
house
not any
lots.
special conditions that distinguish it from other houses in the area?
I mean, particularly on that road and their direct neighbors, I would say no, most of those lots are, of that same shape, but most of the houses on those lots are built a lot closer to the road. As far as being a standard house lot, it's not necessarily a typical shape for a house lot to be
Right.
in a Titan triangle like that.
And that really pertains to really the adjacent lots. Everything else around there is more standard.
Right, well, you know, I think it's 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 43, so about 40 or 50% of the neighborhood. Anyway, thank you.
Yep.
Would you say though, in kind of coming off of Mr. Cochran's, question, the two adjacent lots, 38 and 40, excuse me, do they have garages attached to their houses right now? One of them does? Okay.
I believe that, I'm just going off of memory, I've only been up to the house a couple of times, they would be able to provide a better answer, I don't know if they're able to provide that answer for you guys. Is that acceptable?
No, the reason I'm asking is based on the fact that, based on the question that was asked as far as how it's distinguished, it can be, you can look at placement as you had defined on the house. You know, had it been placed in a different location, you wouldn't be here looking for a variance. My guess would be that if there are garages attached to the houses in that vicinity, most likely is because the house placement, was set so that it wouldn't affect.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, just off of my memory, I believe that lot 38 has an attached garage on their house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that,
Understood.
but,
Okay.
Is the driveway existing?
yes,
So the turnaround that encroaches on the setbacks already there?
yes.
Well, I think that pavement is not a structure, and...
Just wanted to make sure it was already there.
I'm just being hyper pedantic on the word encroach, because I think fences and et cetera,
It shows it on the
Yep.
map, so I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure that it was already there.
yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, I think,
It
and
doesn't
this is a
matter.
side issue, that you could even pave, anyone could pave 8 feet from their side, not a structure.
Right. That's correct, as far as I know.
And from what I was
Bottom
looking
line
at,
is you just wanna put a structure over where you park your cars anyway,
Yes.
for the most part. That's
Yep.
right.
and I was trying to look at pictures and see it from the air and stuff, so it looks like this house is set back further. So if it goes over, it's like, I think you said woods, and there's nothing there whatsoever that it would come close to.
Yeah, like the neighbor's yard is probably halfway up the driveway, and then everything else behind there on their neighbor's side is all woods back there anyways, so.
Okay.
So in terms of placement of the house, their house is back from the neighbor's house, away
Yeah,
from
so
the
I would
street.
say their house is probably 2/3 of the way up the lot. The neighbor's house is right on the road, and their yard runs maybe about halfway up the lot.
Right.
And even if you were to redesign it so that you didn't have the, I'll say, the walk between the garage and the house, it wouldn't shrink it enough that you still wouldn't have, it wouldn't shrink it enough so that you wouldn't be here for a variance, because you'd still be over the, 25-foot setback.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to move the garage
Right.
pretty far down the driveway to make that
Yep.
realistic.
Yep.
And what about a one-car instead of a two-car?
I mean,
Desire?
that is an option, but yeah, I mean, they're both have cars, and it's a tough ask, I guess, to decide who
Not
gets
suggesting.
to park in the garage and who doesn't, so. I mean, that is in theory an option, but it does hinder the design of the garage quite a bit, so.
Yeah, Could you confirm the dimensions of the garage? 26 square,
26 by 26, yeah.
26 square. Yeah, so to come back that 10 feet, you'd have a 16-foot wide structure.
Yeah. which is a wide single-car garage, and then they basically lose the usable space up in the attic that they're hoping to get, so.
What are we using the space for above the garage?
Just kind of a family room, hangout room, a place for them, I think, to have guests over when they have like Thanksgiving dinner or something like that.
Question?
Zero plumbing in the extra
No
space?
plumbing, yeah.
Basically unfinished for now, or is it gonna be
We're
finished?
gonna finish the space.
Oh, you're gonna finish it,
Yep.
okay.
So it'll just be additional living space for the home, it's not a separate living space.
That's an issue for later, I guess. Anything else you wanna add? Any other questions?
Nope, happy to answer any more questions. I don't think I have a whole lot to add to that.
If you've had it, we can, see if we have any approving of butters. I'm curious to know, what your neighbor does think about it, as far as if they're in favor. You can have a seat, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
okay.
I assume they're not in the room yelling,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know if Shelley can have a chance to speak.
Yeah, now,
she had spoken
you,
more to
you
the neighbors.
basically had your say, the first part, and now I'd like to hear from the approving of butters. Any approving, any, pardon?
They're the owners. So that was the builder speaking first?
Okay, you have anything else to add then?
I was trying to give her a chance.
You have a letter here basically saying that he was gonna do the talking for you, so I wasn't expecting you to.
And,
But you
and-
want,
and
if
that's
you wanna
fine, but
add-
if you wanna
yeah,
add more, you can.
You wanna add more, that's, yeah,
Well, thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Elizabeth Shelley LaFave. Thank you for being on the board also. So I do have a letter from the abutter whose house is directly beside ours and is down.
is, now who is this from? Lot
This is-
38?
The closest abutter, the one,
Closest
Great,
abutter, yes.
Okay.
I want them. Great.
How about if I just read it out loud? Okay? Read. To whom it may concern, I, Deborah A. Corsetti, hope that said that right, property owner of 87 Beach Hill Road, Ware, New Hampshire, happily grant, I have a hard time with that name. Lefebvre?
LaFave,
Lefebvre, okay.
It's fine.
Family at 95 Beach Hill Road in Ware, the variance request as submitted to the town of Ware zoning board by the contractor. Okay, we get it. The wording's a little bit minced there. I want them to be able to construct a garage to keep them safe and have no issue at all with it being beyond the setback requirements as stated in the letter. And just to be clear, this is from lot 38, the only neighbor you're really encroaching on, if you will.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep, lot 38.
Okay, so that basically is in favor. Any questions to that?
Nope. No.
Okay. You have anything else to add?
Lot 40 and Lot 38 do not have attached garages. Lot 40 has a garage, but it's closer down to the road.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I think that's
Okay.
about it. We are looking at, as we get older, not having to carry your groceries in on the slippery slope, which we are on a hill. If we were to move the garage down, we would literally have to make a turn into the garage at the top of a hill.
Right.
So, all right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
You
you.
don't have any other questions of me?
Other questions? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, are there any approving of butters? Disapproving of butters? Public at large, other boards? Being none, would you like to rebut anything that wasn't said? So to speak. Do you have anything to add or rebut on? Nope. Okay. With that, I'm gonna close the, wait, no more questions here?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public meeting. This is now a closed deliberation. Anybody have anything to add to this or say?
We're gonna go through point by point, right?
Yep.
Okay, I've got things on individual points, but
Okay,
nothing.
I did have a generic question though,
what's that?
like, where did the 25 feet come from? That's one thing I was trying to find is, somebody, I know it says it right there, but somewhere, someone.
Right.
It's in the zoning code,
It was
18.3,
25
point
feet,
one or
yeah.
something.
How'd the ordinance come
How
about?
the ordinance come about? I was trying to find somewhere where,
That's,
that
that's a
was-
discussion
from
for
memory.
another day.
We don't wanna get into that.
so that's all we have to go off is 25 feet and.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I was trying to
it's-
find some reason, but, all right.
It's a fairly standard setback. So would we like to discuss point one, or do I hear a motion?
I would just like to read into the record my thoughts on point one. So, would the variance cause a harm? Does it-
Don't have to bring it in first. We have to
I don't mean
bring
to
it in.
interrupt.
Okay.
But I'm thinking what we wanna do here is weigh a motion, second it, and then we can insert your statement in
That's part of the
statements
discussion.
to that.
Okay.
You know what
So,
I'm saying?
I'm not sure I do. In the past, we've discussed each prong, are we gonna do that tonight?
Yes, oh, we
Great,
gotta
okay.
discuss.
Then that-
There's always a point for discussion.
Then I thought we were in the discussion
That's
mode,
a
I'm
good way to
sorry.
keep it separate.
Great.
We're gonna, I like to weigh a motion to accept prong one, hear it seconded, then discussion.
Okay.
And then we can insert your
Great.
points on prong one.
Great.
I think that's-
I move that we accept prong one.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded to accept prong one. Any
Discussion. And don't worry, most of this is all good, and it's just reading into the record, which I think is important. Under Gray v. Sedell, 1999, does it cause a benefit? Doesn't matter. Does it cause a harm? I have no reason to think it does. Under Chester Rod and Gun Club v. Town of Chester, does it alter the essential character of the neighborhood? I've heard no reason to suggest that it does. I have heard no reason to think that it threatens health or safety or the general welfare. And under the municipal law update of 1999, if the applicant makes even a conclusory statement that it would not cause harm, that's enough. And again, the applicant has said so either explicitly or implicitly, and no one's contradicted it. So that's effectively, yeah, prong one looks great. I just wanted to be pedantic and
Excellent.
lay out what the standards are.
Any other discussion on prong one? Being no discussion, all those in favor?
Yes. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, that's prong one passes 5-0. Do I hear a motion to accept prong two?
Moved. Seconded?
Sean, moved?
Yes.
And- Okay, seconded. Okay, is there any discussion on prong two?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, like I had stated, while, we were having the open discussion, is that, you know, the request isn't really that the ordinance be amended, it's just that
Yeah.
they're looking for a variance
Right.
to the ordinance.
Technically, that's what we do when we issue a variance, but it's very specific to that instant, and that
Right.
is really amending the ordinance.
Correct.
So, discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. I think this is a thing that we should dig into more ideally when we hear a variance, which is, you know, the question asks, does it obey the spirit of the ordinance? And we rarely actually discuss what the spirit is. And so for setbacks, I think the implied spirit is it shouldn't crowd, it shouldn't alter the density of the neighborhood, et cetera. And I think that implicitly, we did hear that. We heard that it is set back behind the neighbor's house, not up close to the road. So, you know, ideally, in general, we'd hear sort of more explicitly. I think the reason for the ordinance is this, and I'm, you know, keeping it, but I think we can understand in this case. So it struck me that, yes, it does, because it's back behind the neighbor's house. Conversely, if the neighbor's house was further back and the neighbor would be looking out their front door at something close to their property line, I might then have questions, but I think we're good here.
Malcolm, would you allow me to say something? Yeah, I know I'm not a voting member tonight, but I would just like to add on to Travis's idea of what the spirit of the ordinance is, provide adequate light and air, and that kind of goes to the same thing that you just said. If they were right on top of each other, it might hinder their ability to enjoy their
yeah.
natural beauty.
And I think while the presence or absence of a butter speaking doesn't necessarily
Exactly.
causatively do it,
Exactly.
the fact that there's no one even here saying, hey, the runoff from that's gonna do something, there's just no reason for us to go and invent that. But if they were here, then again, we'd wanna be serious about that.
I would agree with everything you said. I think that's well said.
Thank you.
Anything else? No more discussion? Being no more discussion, do I... All those in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And a yes. Prong 2 passes 5-0. Do I hear a motion to accept prong 3?
I so motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
So in general, the substantial justice prong is about trade-offs. And sometimes you are allowed to hurt other people a little bit if, this is, your property is entirely useless, entirely wasted, and we need to move something an inch. That stubs your abutter's toe perhaps a little bit, but the benefit, but in this case, we're not hearing any damages at all.
Yeah.
So the offsetting, it's, helps them a lot and doesn't hurt anyone at all.
Right. Again, I agree. Well said. Anything else?
No, I agree with Travis. There is no harm to the general public based on, the encroachment on the setback of 25 feet.
Yep. No more discussion. Being no more discussion, all those in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And a yes. Prong 3 passes 5-0. Right, 5-0, good. Do I hear a motion on prong 4?
I so motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have discussion, and I am almost certain that this prong is gonna pass 4-1, and that makes me happy, because I have no ill will to the applicant. But again, I wanna go on record and explain my thinking here. The general approach of the ZBA for variance changes and other things is the applicant wants to. And that certainly, the applicant wouldn't be here if they didn't want to. But more than that is required under the law and under Supreme Court precedent on prong 5. So we heard a few things. Yes?
On 4.
You're on prong 4.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm
gonna-
sorry.
Speaking to prong 4.
Woke up too early. No, prong 4 looks great.
It's okay.
I must have, yes, I flipped 2 pages.
Yeah, you had me going there for a second. I'm like, well, wait, yeah,
Nope.
okay. So anything else on prong 4?
No discussion.
Okay, being no more discussion on prong 4, all those in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And a yes, prong 4, 5-0. Passes. Do I hear a motion to accept prong 5 in its
Entirety.
entirety? Yeah.
So moved?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Okay, now we have
Now,
discussion.
now the
Yeah.
rant about the Supreme Court, et cetera. So a lot of times, people say, there might be alternate approaches, but I want to do it this way. And, in this particular case, we did hear a few things. We heard it said that a single-car garage could fit. We heard it said that moving the garage forward, 30 or 40 feet, that's something I came up on my own looking at the scale drawing, would fit, but then you wouldn't get the connection to the great room or the extra space, and I understand that. We implicitly heard that it wouldn't be possible to put it on the other side of the house, but we have no data to support that. We don't know exactly where the septic is. That might be true. If we look at the written application, which is, please describe the special conditions that distinguish it from other properties, I think we literally heard that, yeah, all of the other properties in the neighborhood are like this. And there's a particular Supreme Court case, which was Chichester versus something, where the Supreme Court literally said that, and it was a case just like this. Someone wanted to put a 3-car garage into the boundaries, and the Supreme Court said, if a property is suitable for a use, then a variance can't be granted. It's only if the restriction makes it unsuitable for any use. And the Supreme Court said in this particular case, the fact that a house is already there and has been there for 20 years is evidence that it is suitable for that case. So in the end, I will be voting against this. I know everyone else will be voting for that, and I'm actually happy for the applicant. But just, again, sort of speaking about what the rule of law actually is, this is an area where I think we should all look over that case and understand what it says.
Well, I would say, to your point, I would say the reason why it is not being built on the opposite side of the house is because I've not been anywhere where you enter a house through your living room. You enter through the kitchen from the garage generally, or a breezeway of some sort, or something like that, so,
I mean, but you've seen houses with detached garages,
yep, I agree.
you've seen houses with no garages.
And in this case, there's a house right now that has no garage. But, you know, to their point, they do live on a hill. Putting it as a detached garage below the house doesn't give them the advantage of being in a garage and be able to walk into the house.
I absolutely
without-
understand, and I personally would always want my garage attached to my house. That's clearly a benefit, and again, I'm happy that in this case, they're almost certainly gonna get the variance, and so I'm happy for them as individuals. But I just wanna be clear that according to the law, the fact that my garage would be 25% better if we violated the zoning code does not satisfy the hardship prong. Yes? No?
I didn't call the vote yet, I'm just making sure there's no other,
Do we want to discuss the other two parts? Do you have anything on the other,
I've spoken enough on this prong. I'll
yeah.
Well,
just
I
making
tend to
sure?
feel,
grace you with a little silence now.
I see your point. You have a good point.
well, I'd like to add to that,
Yeah.
right, so if it said 25% more would not constitute justification of hardship, except for, especially in this case, to reduce the structure to the size that would be within the, would fundamentally change the function of the structure.
And in the
Not
Supreme
3
Court
cars
case,
to-
right, no, I understand. In the Supreme Court's case, they said that a 2-car garage, a 1-car garage, or even 0 garage are all valid, and therefore the desire for a 2-car garage does not allow the hardship prong to fire. And so, I can't force you to follow that. The applicant's gonna be happy, and so I in fact, don't want to win on this, but I
It's
do
a
wanna-
tough call to make sometimes, because we wanna focus on justice, but we also wanna focus on reasonable use. And it really is a decision we make ourselves as far as what we think.
Well, when you look at the layout as well, right?
Yeah.
Had the house been put more in the center of the property, we wouldn't be here. Because they wouldn't be encroaching on the setback at all.
Right.
So,
You know, so they had no control over that when they bought the property. You know, and now they would like to, and at the same time, when they bought the property, they may not have had the thought of putting in a 2-car garage. But then when they did, that's when they realized that I'm going to encroach on the setback. So it wasn't with malice that they've decided
No.
to do this.
Certainly
So,
not.
You know, so in a sense, I understand what the
Yep.
Supreme Court is saying, but I think there's also exceptions to when those are rulings, there always are exceptions to those things.
okay, I'm not aware of any exceptions to that ruling.
I would just remind everybody to go back to duty 3, which is the granting of variances under 674-33. It says the variances are included in the zoning ordinance to prevent the ordinance from becoming
Confiscatory.
thank you, or unduly oppressive as applied to individuals' properties uniquely situated.
Well, I need not belabor my points anymore. We can get on to the
I think
401 and
you've
make the
made-
applicant happy.
Yep. Yep, just speaking that from my own thing is part of the, when I think of reasonable use, I try to come from a place, and my place is reasonable, request. Somebody wants that, we want this, is it reasonable? And then it really is reasonable use. It all seems pretty reasonable, so I don't have a problem with it. I understand the stickiness of the justice aspect of it, but it's definitely,
Well, I think the justice aspect, and Kurt called that out,
Yeah.
and I think that's entirely true that we need to cover
I'm
that.
sorry, I meant hardship.
Okay, great. Kurt did call out justice.
Yeah,
He
there
did
you
call
go.
out justice, and I want to say that, that was prong 3. And
Yes.
I was absolutely, voting yes
I
because
guess my point is
I thought
hardship
justice
is a
would be
hard
done.
thing to pinpoint. sometimes. Sometimes it's pretty easy, sometimes, yeah. So, here we are. Any further discussion? Being no more discussion, all those in favor of accepting prong 5 in its entirety?
Yes. No? And
Yes.
I didn't get yours.
Yes.
Yes, and a yes. Passes 4-1.
Oh, and just for the record, the case that I was trying to cite was Crossley v. Town of Pelham, 1990.
Is that the case for the garages?
Yeah.
Could you just repeat that one more time?
Sure. Crossley with 2 S's, v. Town of Pelham, P-E-L-H-A-M, 1990.
Okay. We're done with that one. Moving forward, and
Want to make any
congratulations.
statement about
To, thank
Pardon?
you for your efforts.
variance?
I didn't hear you.
I was,
expiration?
Just one second.
This doesn't expire, does it?
What doesn't expire?
We talked about last time about needing to
Oh, yeah,
state
that's what I'm
expiration.
getting to. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've been looking for my, there it is, no. We're talking about the, I messed up my paperwork. The next case. We're on the next case.
No, I think what Janice is saying is that we should announce, A, the variance is granted, congrats, and B, you get it for 2 years, and you should take action within those 2 years, is that
That's what I'm asking you.
right?
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me, but I didn't get any letter. I didn't know we had that.
We talked about it last time,
Is that a
saying that
new
we
one?
should cite the state law.
Okay, so we're quoting state law. We're relying on state law.
That's all we have.
We're informing the applicant of what it is they just got.
By all means.
And so, my understanding is, congratulations, your application is approved. We expect that you will begin construction within 2 years, and if it gets to 22 months, you should come back here and say, there was a hiccup with the bank, we'd like to extend the variance because we still intend to build.
What he said for the most part.
all I wanted to say was, thank you for what you do. I did it for 10 years, sitting where you're sitting. And-
I didn't, I'm sorry, are you all set?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Thank you. I'm aware of that, and we talked about that, but I didn't know we were going to incorporate it
That's
tonight.
what you had said. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
remind you in case you forgot.
That's good.
Sir, did you have more that you'd like to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, we cut you off, sorry.
Part of the reason for that, is the way that was set up was incorrect. If you look at it, I'm kind of old.
Aren't we all?
Okay, the way that these things were laid out is they went up like this and went like this. Okay, and they're 200, 300 feet long. So it really makes it hard to put houses and things in it because of this thing we just went through. There was the 9 things you were talking about. So they, when you do what you do in the future, keep that in the back of your mind that how you do allow something to be laid out makes a big difference.
So you're saying, for future subdivisions, we should ask potential subdividers to subdivide in a sane way as opposed to... Well, yes, agreed. That sounds like great advice.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot for that. I
instead of being
appreciate it. But let's
nice
move on to the next case. In this
Have a good
case,
night. Thank you.
application. Have a great night, yes. Did we get to the bottom of this?
Malcolm, do you want this in the,
Did you need this back?
Your septic, we don't need
You
it.
guys need it?
No, thank you. Have a good night.
Is there anybody to speak to this case, 2504?
yes.
She's here.
Okay. We are going to, go for it. Come on up.
What'd we
I
find out?
think we've talked about this before, and this is a,
Thank you.
There was a request for clarity
Thank you.
on the variance
Mm-hmm.
that we all agreed was
granted and executed
Exactly.
some 20-plus years ago.
Yes.
So, in the meeting, and I've kind of summarized it, in the meeting, I misspoke. I informed you that the variance was for 2 driveways. That is not the case. It is for 3 driveways. So if you review all the information, essentially, I went back through all the documents to 2004. And the variance was denied by the ZBA a number of times. My parents spent a substantial amount of money with several attorneys and with Superior Court against ZBA. And ultimately, the variance was granted.
Right.
And I have continued, and my family has continued, to request the variance extension, request the variance extension, request the variance extension. The variance extension is no longer needed. The variance has been executed. I just want to be done with this.
Can I ask for a little, ask you a question?
Certainly, of
Just to be
course.
clear.
Yes.
You stated that you misspoke the number of driveways.
Yes,
okay?
sir, I did.
That's great. Has the variance been executed on all 3 driveways?
Yes.
Then we,
I just,
think
I,
we're
but,
done with
but,
this.
but here's the thing, guys, and I don't mean this to sound the wrong way.
yeah,
We have incurred substantial financial impact to get this straightened out. And frankly, my fear is that when we try to build on that 5-acre lot, somehow the town's gonna say, oh, well, wait a minute. You need, so, I need an assurance from this town that I'm not going to spend any more money that I'm not gonna recoup.
I entirely
now, let
understand
me just
that.
clarify again.
Yes.
The driveway's in.
Driveway's in.
But,
If the driveway is in, then that's your clarification, that's your assurance.
Okay.
Let me speak devil's advocate for the applicant.
Yeah.
Were I in her shoes, I'd say, great, Malcolm, you tell me, I told you, Malcolm, that all 3 driveways are in, you told me that I'm in, and she walks away. And she comes back 10 years from now, ready to build, and there's different people here, and they say, well, do we have any proof that how do we know these are the same 3 driveways? So,
Correct.
I absolutely get your need and
So
should
if
lock
you
this down.
look at one of the, actually, page, it's clearly illustrated here on this planned
Okay, yeah.
document, that there's the easement, and it clearly shows that we were not going to use the 200-foot road frontage off of 149 because it represented substantial threat to environment, and it also presented traffic conditions. It's documented there, it's approved by the town. I don't think I need to come for this variance anymore. I will keep these, I will laminate these are going in my grandkids'.
So,
So this would be the other part, right? So if we give a variance to somebody else, i.e. they just encroach on the 25-foot border, right? 10 years down the road, they have the house and it's encroaching, right? It's kind of the same thing with these driveways. It's already done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of
So-
what I was saying.
Now, I guess it's, if she wants to build a house, it's just building a house on a lot,
Right,
right?
which is an approved lot. Bless
It's
you.
an approved lot.
Sorry.
You can
Yes.
build a house on the lot. There are no issues with building the house on the lot.
Right.
The only issue was putting the driveway in.
Correct.
And the driveway's put in.
Correct.
I agree with both of you gentlemen entirely.
Last month, we did ask, though,
And,
for
oh, let
the
me
court
just-
agreement.
I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Last month, we
It's-
asked for the court agreement. Is it in this document?
I
Can you point me to it?
contacted the court, I have those documents. However, it's 20 years old. I spoke with the attorney on record. He said, you know what, he reviewed the document, said, Lisa, absolutely, but I can't, he doesn't work for that firm anymore. We're talking 20 years ago, Janice.
Do you have it? I think you didn't, that's
So-
why we asked.
No,
for it.
I
what I was gonna
literally went
say-
through every page of that. The lawyers, the Supreme Court, they basically said the town of Ware is going to grant this
Right,
variance.
yeah.
Or the state of New Hampshire is going to. And it was granted. For 20 years, it's been extended.
Just a quick question. for
Yes.
clarity. So there's 3 driveways?
Yes.
Which means there's 3 house numbers, or potentially,
There will be,
right?
there are 2 house
There are 2
numbers,
house
there's a
numbers, right?
potential of a third,
Third.
correct.
Okay, so that in itself will,
my point here, you see, you needed the variance for the 3 driveways.
We needed a variance for the third
Oh,
driveway.
for the 3rd driveway, okay.
Correct, yep, and it
really-
actually shows, like I said, on that plan, easement, and it shows specifically the lot that it's for.
And that driveway was for access to that lot,
Correct,
and that driveway is built.
correct.
So you have been diligent as far as keeping up the extensions, when you probably didn't need to, my opinion. If the driveway's
For
in
20 years.
place, you've executed the variance.
Are we talking about, just so that for the record,
Yes, sir.
407-1531.1, is that the one that's going to have, that doesn't have a house on it right now,
That
but
is
has a
correct.
driveway to it?
That is correct.
So, it's on record that there is a driveway to lot 407-153.1.
Right.
Correct.
So,
That was
Driveway's
granted
built,
a
you're
variance
using it
for.
as access to that
Yes,
lot.
we are,
I wanna
actively.
push back a little bit, helping the applicant in a
Thank
sense.
you.
But if I go and buy a canoe and I hand over, $400 because it's a very nice one, and we shake hands and the guy says, great, I've got the money, I've got the canoe, that's good, but I'd still like a receipt.
That's,
Because when I come back, 6 months later, he says, no, there was another $200 due, you wanna lock it down. And so in this case, we can sit here, we can tell her this, we can't bind a future ZBA to have the same understanding that we do. And so if, again, 10 years, there's a question, and they say, yeah, Travis and Malcolm, they've all moved out of town, I don't know, but I'm looking at this and it doesn't look right to me. So I've got, if there's any process at all whereby we could give a binding assurance, I would think, but I don't know if there is, this is maybe a legal question, maybe we can ask the BOS if they will allow us to ask the town attorney to issue a statement of understanding or something.
I understand what you're saying, and it's not bad on its face, but I don't think it's necessary. We have our record right here tonight.
but
You were here last time with the
Cor-
same record.
correct, but I will say this, that we historically had filed the variance requests, they were granted,
Yeah.
granted. And when I came before you folks before, or actually the meeting that I wasn't here for,
Yeah.
you all had questions and wanted to say, why haven't they executed this variance? So with all due
Well,
respect.
my question was, did you execute it? And you said
we-
yes.
We did,
That
but
ended it for me.
again, it ended it for you.
Yes.
But to Travis's point, if 3 years down the road, there's a whole new ZBA, and I'm back here again, I'm gonna have a problem with that, and I don't mean that
And
meanly.
further, they say you didn't renew it at 2 years, it's expired,
Correct.
so.
That driveway
Let's
isn't in
speak, look at it
question.
this way. He mentioned receipt.
Yes,
Keep your receipt.
You'll have minutes.
We all have a receipt.
So
Keep your
minutes
receipt.
might be, yeah.
We had an issue about finding our records, but if you had brought your records, kept your receipt, it wouldn't have gone as long as it did.
but I did keep my receipt.
We have all the receipts, is what I'm trying to
I
get
sounds
across.
like a closed matter.
Pardon?
Seems like we're talking kind of in a big circle.
It should be close matter.
So-
That's why I would
so-
like to,
I think we might have a resolution, I'm sorry.
Resolution.
Go ahead.
No, Malcolm's up.
Sorry, Malcolm.
no, it's okay. You guys can go as long as you like, really. But my point is, the variance has been executed. The third driveway is built.
Yes, sir.
It's being used.
Yes,
And
sir.
as I'm speaking right now, that's becoming part of the record, okay?
And that's what we're
And,
doing.
and in the future, if anybody sees this, they're gonna get my words. They're gonna get our words, they're gonna get our vote, and our discussion. And that's your receipt.
Okay.
So I would like, on that point, I would thank you for being so diligent.
Yes.
And I would like to hear a motion to deny the, variance extension.
I would like to, because I agree, she's got a legitimate desire for receipt. You've got an absolutely perfect point that the minutes can be the receipt. So I would like to see if there's a phrase that we can all agree to.
Hang
that-
on. I'm asking for the motion.
I don't want to have that motion.
Wait, listen to me.
Okay, all right,
I'm asking for the motion, because we always do it in the negative.
okay.
I'm looking for a second, and then I'm gonna look for discussion. And
Okay.
in that discussion is where you can put your
Okay.
okay?
Great.
Same thing I talked about
Sort of
earlier.
the conditional
The-
week
the
or something.
process we go
Right,
through.
okay.
Okay, so, I'd like to hear a motion to deny the
I'm-
variance extension.
I so motion.
Second? Okay.
Don't worry, don't worry. We're not voting yet, we're just bringing it onto the table.
You don't need it.
But we're gonna give you what you want, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's about the deny.
Any
Okay.
discussion?
Yes,
Deny.
discussion. I think that we should vote to deny the extension with the caveat written in the minutes that this board finds the variance fully executed and finalized.
According to the applicant's testimony and the documentation presented, the variance has been satisfied. Therefore, there is no need for an extension.
I might even want to remove the caveat of according to the applicant's testimony. And the reason why is that still leaves a little thread in the sweater for a future ZBA to pull on. I think if no one has shown up here in 20 years to ever say that this variance hasn't been executed, this, that, we should give the applicant a little more finality than that. And we should say that, given that the variance has been executed, we deny the extension.
I think, well, yeah, to your point, right?
Sound good to you
We're
guys?
denying the extension based on the fact that
That it's done.
it's not needed because it's been executed.
Yes. And the discussion here is, what is the phrase? Is it because it's been executed, or is it because it's been executed according to testimony? And I'm pushing for the former.
I'm fine with that, too. So the motion to deny is based on the fact that it has been executed, the variance has been executed. Okay. Those in favor?
Of denying. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I never wanna see you guys again.
Variance
And I
extension was
mean that even
denied,
though- right.
and I want to double
it's all
down
with
on the
love,
thank
right?
you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I would double down on the thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no problem.
You've done a great job.
Yes, again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a
Have
good
a good
night.
night.
Okay. There's no other applications, but we have a set of minutes. You guys looked at them?
Yes.
Any amendments?
Looks like line 269. It should be, I would assume 401 and not 501. I think that's the only thing I saw.
You said 259?
269.
Very last page.
Oh, yeah,
501. I think
It should be 401.
401.
good catch. You get that, Naomi? I did. Okay. Any other amendments or
Line
discussion?
29, Travis, unless you don't have a second R in your name,
Yeah.
and line 34 as well,
C-O-R, C-O-R-A-N.
yep. So those two,
A little bit dyslexic myself, so I was happy with it the way it was written.
They spill my name all the time, I'm just used to it.
where else did I have? And then, line 204 on page 5, where it says, Mr. Westcott stated that, which the footprint of the foundation may, I think that should be, while the footprint of the foundation may be
Yep.
26 by
that.
42, and then I would strike out the following, he footprint of the foundation is 26 feet by 42 feet.
Then the, should be then the,
I would change, change which to while.
yeah. And then that second section should be, looks like it should be then the footprint of the foundation.
But is it needed
Is-
because you already have the footprint of the
All right, yeah.
foundation maybe?
Amended to make sense,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
And then the only other one I had, was on line 239, I wasn't sure exactly what we were trying to say there. If you read 238, the
Yeah.
town of Ware came to an agreement to create the variance for the driveway access to their lot, which included on a curve.
I think we could probably just strike everything after the comma, and it works pretty well.
Okay. I won't disagree with you. That's what I had.
That sounds good to me too, yeah. Anything else? You got all those, Naomi? A motion to accept them, the minutes for December 3rd, 2024, as
So-
amended.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes, that's a 4-0 with one abstention on the meeting minutes. Do I hear, is there any other discussion or any business before the board?
I did send everyone a notice about the planning board public, hearing that will be taking place on Thursday, January 9th at 7 PM here in this room. There are some amendments that will impact the zoning ordinance that I wanted to make sure you're all aware of. They were in the link that I forwarded you, if you didn't already know about them. It's adding a new Article 38, which is a conditional use permit, which, as I understand it, the planning board takes care of, but we should be aware of what they're proposing. And they are also adding a definition for accessory living space, how to calculate the square footage, and the variance special exception expiration, which is quite wordy in my personal opinion, and not sure why they're just not going with RSA 674-33.
Right, yeah.
I do plan on going as a resident. Don't know if we wanna send a representative from this board to make any comments, or if y'all wanna show up as residents as well, but information.
I intend to show up as a resident.
Okay.
I have a thought about, where the board might have an opinion, so we can discuss it right now. I should have reviewed it more recently. I looked at it a week or two ago. The expiration on the special exceptions, I watched the meeting. There was no discussion of where this came from, who had asked for it. And I think that this effectively shifts power away from the ZBA, and it shifts power away from this ZBA to both the planning board and to previous incarnations of this ZBA. So any special exceptions that are in existence right now, which would normally expire after 2 or 3 years, I forget what the number is, they need to be renewed, and they need to meet the criteria. This amendment, or warrant article, would have the effect of changing that. So if special exceptions were approved anytime in the last 2 years and 11 months and, 29 days, I forget if the new expiration, I think, is maybe never, so it becomes a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
I have my particular suspicions about the motivation for this, and one suspicion is that the previous chair of the ZBA is in violation of the zoning code, and has been for years and years, has gotten repeated special exceptions, including when they could not legally be granted, and that the planning board, I have, historical evidence, creates special purpose warrant articles to help out individual friends, especially given the total lack of discussion in the planning board meeting that I watched. I think that this warrant article is laser focused to help out one friend of the planning board, and I do not think that it is a good change to the Ware zoning code, and I don't think it's a good change for Ware.
So would that be Thursday night be the time to voice that?
Yep.
Okay.
And so anyway, I'm bringing that up, I will bring that up at the time as a citizen, and other citizens might also wish to attend, and the zoning board as a whole probably doesn't want to endorse the big rant that I just went on, but it might have opinions that the current zoning board, should this warrant article pass, would be stripped of the authority that it has historically had for 35 years, and as soon as the personnel change 3 or 4 months ago, suddenly it loses the power. And I think that this zoning board should not have less power than any previous or future zoning board. We're just in the
Regardless
continuum.
of
I
the
appreciate-
reason for it, I can't speak to whether or not I know anything about
Right.
why
And
they may
that's-
be doing this, but it does, in the second paragraph that they're proposing, it does say that the landowner, original, as listed on the original application, may be granted 1 2-year extension, provided such extension is requested within 30 days of the variance special exception expiration. The second sentence says, this extension shall not require butter notices or further review by the zoning board of adjustments. So basically, I'm interpreting that, without discussion with the planning board of what their intention was, that if they come, we have to do it.
Understood. I would like to just say that I don't think we should go there, here.
No, I'm just saying, that's why I think we, as a body, doing what
Yes.
we do, should be concerned.
I think anybody at this table who is concerned, should be concerned, should show up as citizens and have their say. It's very sketchy if we start getting political, so I
I don't think it is.
Don't do that.
It's not political.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's not political. It is,
There's a lot of,
if this gets enacted as written and gets voted in, we are gonna have a hard time doing what we did.
It's a balance of powers issue, I think, and.
and
it
I
is-
don't think it's, I apologize for saying it this way, I don't think it's relevant for here and now. I think we should kinda move on. It's relevant enough to, you just had your say, and, I think we shouldn't go any further with this. This is too much.
I'm happy to end it, but I
Yes,
do want to
thank
say, I think it is absolutely within the purview of this board to discuss such a thing.
Well-
And we could, if we wanted to, I think legitimately and morally talk about it for another half hour, but I'm done,
Exactly.
but I'm done.
I
Not to the
appreciate
extent
that.
to
I just,
motor,
I guess my point
Right,
is.
right. No, that was my rant, and I was trying to explicitly say, and I don't think the board wants anything to do with that.
No. But to Janice's point, in terms of the adjudicating it, to being able to see it through in the capacity at which we operate,
I do
right?
think
In a meaningful way, there's a mechanic there.
Yep.
That is worth, being aware of.
Yep.
Yep.
And again, my opinions on what it says here was without the benefit of any discussion with the planning board, so keep that in mind.
Great,
So it's just what's written on the paper, and how I read it, what was written on the paper.
right. Thank you. Any further discussion?
None. Doesn't that make you happy?
All those approved of adjourning?
Yes.
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 I didn't hear.
Yes.
Yes, okay, any yes. We're done. Now we can talk all we want. Oh.